So good evening. Thank you all very much for coming this evening. I invited you all to join me because I wanted to share some information with you that's made a huge difference to my life. I've been involved with horses most of my life, and for over 45 years of that, I've been a horse riding instructor. And in the main, I love my job. I love working outside with the horses. I love being with the horses themselves. And I am absolutely passionate about teaching. However, and I'm sure some of you will be familiar with this, there are aspects of my job that I'm not so keen on. So one of those is not being able to rely on my income. It's very fickle. And so that means that I end up worrying about whether I'm going to be able to pay my bills. Then I end up working extra hours to make up for the shortfall, which then means that I have poor sleep, I'm tired all the time, and I have slow recovery from illnesses and injury. And I have no time for my own horses, which is, at the end of the day, that's the whole purpose of the exercise. However, Patricia introduced me to something which has provided me with a solution. So now I have peace of mind because I have a regular income, so I don't have to worry about paying my bills. It means I get to choose the hours that I want to work. I also have great sleep, more energy, and a quicker recovery time. And best of all, I actually have time to spend with my horses. So tonight, I've invited Debbie from New Zealand and Brett Dorney from the UK to help me share the information with you. I've also have a guest speaker, Debbie Krall, and she has been working and had opportunities to work with some of the absolute top horses in the world, from flat track racing, Grand Prix horses, and the US 3-day event teams. She's also been fortunate to have attended the past 25 years of the Triple Crown run, working on some of the best equine athletes, 2 Olympic teams, and the US and Canadian 3-day event team. And so she's going to be joining us, or she is joining us from Florida to share her experiences and answer any questions you have. So, the beginning of this sharing of information is to share with you information that will help you and your horses. So we make no claims. This is just for information purposes, and so it's for education. So just to give you a basic overview, we're just going to watch a very quick little video. It's only 3 minutes long, but it will give you an idea of where we're going.
There's something about the flip of a switch. With a simple flip, life can get simpler, easier. Better. But sometimes, if something is turned off or isn't working right, it may need a little attention to get it back in order. Everything is subject to wear and change. Even our bodies. They break, they lag, their power begins to dim. Just living our lives, our bodies begin to break down. What's happening is the natural processes that have been keeping us healthy are slowly switching off, making us feel tired, foggy, rusty, broken, and worst of all, old. What would we give to not feel this way? What if we could reactivate those processes so we could feel better? What if you can turn them back on? Just like flipping a switch. Thankfully, you can. Enter activation. Recent scientific breakthroughs have proven these switches already exist. They are found in every one of your genes and are responsible for controlling everything from the most basic cellular function to the most complex. So, how do you activate those switches? With intentional use of key nutrients, you can go to the source, flip the switch, and activate those pathways that have slowed over time. So you can feel better and do more. Diet culture, fad workout programs, and the meals getting shipped to your door might help in the short term, but they're not actually addressing the root causes. They aren't flipping those genetic switches. They're band-aids that only mask what is really going on. And that's why you tend to bounce back to exactly where you were. But with activation, you no longer have to accept the status quo. You can choose to change your life, to take control of your health. You can flip the switch. And LifeVantage is leading that charge. As a pioneer in the world of activation, we've proven time and time again that our groundbreaking approach makes you feel better so you can do more. All you have to do is flip the switch.
Thank you, Brett. So over to you, Debbie, in New Zealand, to let us know about free radicals.
Well, good morning. Good morning. Can you guys see me okay? Actually, I can't even see myself. Oh yeah, here I go. So morning, and I say morning because where I am is beautiful, beautiful sun. And isn't this amazing how we've got people from Florida, from England, from New Zealand, all calling in. And Stella, you're absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for that introduction. I just love that video. It's pretty amazing. And what I want to do is sort of talk more about what free radicals is, but a little bit about me. So, you know, I've been living in New Zealand for a long time, since I was born, obviously, but my background is in health research. Been living in that industry for 30 years. And what I did, I specialized more in epidemiology, in the health of trying to understand people's sickness. And it wasn't till I really learned about this, the free radicals, a couple of years ago. And what I want to do is share more about what free radicals and oxidative stress is, so it can lead into what the other Deb is going to talk about. So bear with me, and hopefully it'll come a bit clearer as I speak with the next slide. So take me to the next slide, Brett, and I'll try and explain it. So look, everything free radicals in my time is something that it's crazy. We can't see free radicals. We can't. It's like air. We can't see it. But what we can potentially do is feel it. And what I want to talk about is what free radicals actually converts to when we have too much of it. So free radicals really does equal oxidative stress, and hopefully it'll make sense shortly, but you and I are exposed to free radicals, which converts to oxidative stress. And if you look at this apple, and you've probably had one sit out on your bench for a couple of weeks, let's face it, and you'll just see it over time progress into something a bit more fluffier, mold. Well, that's actually what's happening to our cells inside. Over time, we actually start contributing towards oxidative stress. Now, it doesn't come from the apple that we just eat or fruit. It comes from the environment that we live in. Look, today, in today's world and what's going on in the last couple of years is absolutely crazy. And there's more oxidative stress now more than ever. And you and I, we have something like a trillion billion cells in our body, and each one of those has a little oxidative stress attached to it. And I want to talk about exercising for one thing, and I know we're going to talk about horses shortly, but even running, and if you see dogs panting when they run, they're contributing to oxidative stress. It's really crazy. Technology, this phone, did you know we pick up this phone over 60 times a day? And there's electrons in here that just don't agree with our body. Even the microwave, pesticides and herbicides on our fruit, in our fruit, on our vegetables, water that we drink, all contribute to oxidative stress. And over time, we start to feel it. We start to feel it in other ways, like the way we function, the way our body functions. And to be honest, I didn't know this. And it contributes to diseases and health and bad health outcomes. And I want to talk to you a little bit about that shortly. But just imagine, look at your environment that you're currently living in. But I want to sort of back it up a little bit about how I even learned about oxidative stress, but more so about this young man called Dr. Joe McCord. You imagine him years ago being at university, and his long life passion in life was to figure out why some people got older quicker and didn't live so well. And he wanted to learn about how that all happened. So he studied it. And then he became more specialized in it, but he knew it had something to do with the way our cells interacted with us. It's amazing. And he developed a protein or a thing called superoxide dismutase. Don't worry, you don't have to know about that. But what he got awarded for was discovering it, because he discovered that these cells had a bigger way of how our life looked. So he was awarded the Elliott Crescent Award, and I won't go into it too much, but if you want to know what Elliott Crescent Award was and who actually got those awards, you're looking at someone like Henry Ford, the guy who got the got the car. All right, we wouldn't be flying here without him. Alexander Graham Bell, the phone guy. I mean, I wouldn't even probably have this phone if he didn't invent the initial one, but this is the kind of reputation Joe McCord had, and it really made sense about what he discovered and now what science looks like today. So it's pretty amazing, and over the years, I got it. I got that with all my degrees. It actually meant that it made sense about why you and I probably age a lot quicker than we did years ago. I can tell you, over 1 million years ago, what our tribal ancestors processed in 1 year is what you and I now process in 1 day. True fact. So our brains are functioning way beyond measure. And our brains are changing all the time because of what we're absorbing and what we're learning. And somewhere along the line, it has an impact on us. So what does it actually mean? So this is where it clicked for me a couple of years ago. I learned about this product called Protandim. We brought it into New Zealand here, but I learned more about what it actually did to our body with all the tests and stuff. So it actually reduces oxidative stress by 40% in 30 days. So you imagine all that oxidative stress we have in our body now and what this product can actually do to start supporting that and reducing that. And it activates this pathway in a cell without getting too sciencey. This is what this product's been known to do. And the good thing about it, it's natural. But it's what these ingredients do together that has this synergistic effect. If you just look on the right there, you can see that alone what these products do, it has a little blip in the system. And this is just what a science graph will look like. So when they measure stuff and see what it looks like, they'll measure how it impacts the cell. Well, this is what it does. But what these products do together and what Joe McCord invented is what this can do to us on a whole synergistic level. And it increases glutathione by 300%. Now, glutathione is something that you cannot buy. Glutathione is something that your body has to produce, but over time it decreases. Now, if you want to go on and look at what glutathione can do to you, if you don't have enough, please go and research it. But I tell you, it's not pretty. And it's something that you and I need to have as we get older. It has 13 patents that protect the duplication of this formula. And you know what? You probably think to yourself, well, you know, Deb, I've got this Bacoda stuff and that ashwagandha stuff in your cupboard, in my cupboard. I did too. I had turmeric in my cupboard. But I didn't realize what the combination of these products. And look, he didn't do this overnight. He did this over 40 years. This is what's so great about it. And it clicked for me. And now I share it with all my medical friends, even they've got them in their practices. Anyway, so this is just what this product's capable of doing. And I suggest you go on and research it a bit more, because I did. I didn't believe what I was seeing or hearing. So I went on to because I lived in research for a long time, I knew exactly where to go to find out more about this Protandim stuff. So I went on to a national, well, it's the gold standard, PubMed. I went on to PubMed because that's where we go and learn about research, because doctors don't get out of their office. We know that. They go on here and they figure out, well, what's going on in the world, in the research world. So this is where you will find 28 articles around Protandim. Go and have a look. It's absolutely amazing. And I went through every single one on Protandim because I couldn't believe it. Washington State University has a fantastic caption. It talks about, they released an article saying that NRF2, which is what Protandim is, may well become the most extraordinary therapeutic and most extraordinary preventative breakthrough in the history of medicine. Now, when I heard that, I compared it with penicillin. I compared it with stents that we had. Stents come in a few years ago, well, a long time ago. But, when we're doing, arteries and stuff like that, stents were a huge breakthrough. Penicillin, one of the biggest world breakthroughs. And this is what Washington State University is saying about this product. I was like, okay, let me read about this further. But when we started seeing the results of what this product was doing to our human friends, my mum, my dad, I just had to get this product into the country. So we helped the company bring this product into New Zealand a year ago. Harvard University, it's in the medical journals in America. This is what's so crazy. Anyway, just be open to what we're going to be talking about in the next 15 minutes. But this just blew my mind. It still blows my mind. In the equine field, in the horse field, it's one of the biggest industries here in New Zealand. How many people are giving it to their horses? But hey, look, we're all mammals. This is what's so fantastic. We're all mammals. We all have hearts and we all have livers, kidneys. So this is what's so good about this product. It can be used in all mammals. So next slide there, Brett. So I've given you a little snippet about Protandim and why we brought Protandim here in New Zealand, why the horse community here in New Zealand is going crazy about this product. It's unbelievable. And there's enough videos out there that show you the proof of a before and after. And let's face it, horses can't really give you the placebo effect. They can't just tell you, actually, I feel really good. But they have their fair share of oxidative stress like you and I do. So I'm just going to hand you over to the next Deb, because let's face it, Deb's a real cool. And she's going to share with you more about what does oxidative stress mean, what does Protandim mean in the horse industry. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Deb, because you're the expert in this, and I'll definitely have my pen and paper learning from you. So take it away, girl.
Well, thank you, Deb. I appreciate that and the information that you've brought to everybody this evening. Oxidative stress is just one of those things never gets talked about, in the doctor's office, but all the doctors know what it is. They just don't talk about it, and it's because they don't have a solution for it. And I think that's what makes us very unique, is that, we're the ones pioneering this. It's a new field called nutrigenomics, using nutrition to change your gene expression. That we now have the ability to flip switches on. Many that the older we get, the less they work. And Western medicine has just decided to call that aging. And in reality, we do have something for it. We all have the ability to reduce our oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is really cell damage. So if you think about it, the older your cell is, the more damaged it is. Well, guess what? That's when we start getting sick. That's when our horses get sick. Same thing. So I was super excited when I was introduced to this. I got introduced probably a little different way than most people. I'd been, like I said, in the horse world all my life. I'd spent over 55 years, either 40 years as a therapist. We had a custom saddle shop for 30 years. We were always trying to improve the animal. That's where our passion was. And back 40 years ago, I'll be honest with you, there weren't any schools for physical therapy for horses. You had to go figure it out. And we did that by just looking at saddles. That's how we got into custom saddles, is because they needed to fit. Otherwise, we were going to have muscle atrophy, and then the muscle wouldn't function properly, and the head goes up, and the hocks don't want to go under. And here we've got a whole nother set of problems with the horses again. So I was all about seeing whatever we could do to help these horses. And I loved my career. I did work on some fabulous animals in my career. But about the last 15 years, that industry's changed hugely. And, you used to say a horse needs to go to the farm, a horse needs some time off, or he needs to do this, and you could get it done. And that's not quite where that industry is anymore, at least not at the level that I was working at. And it was a lot of hours, 100 hours a week. I had no days off. I took most of them in December, because that was when we were going to Florida, and everybody got a little bit of a break. But it was a 7-day-a-week deal, and that was fine as long as we were improving horses. And after a while, it just got to where that sacrifice wasn't worth it anymore, and you weren't making the difference that you did for a long time. And so I had decided that morning, I got rid of actually 3 Hall of Fame trainers that morning. Didn't want to work in the barns anymore. And I drove up to the racetrack, and somebody was standing right in front of my truck. And they looked at the door signs on my truck, Therapeutic Equine Services. And he pushed his wife over there to come over and see me. And it turns out they were visiting family up in New York, and she wanted to show me something. So don't ever be afraid to show this to anybody, because you don't know who is open to this. And none of my friends would have ever told me about this. Are you kidding? I got up at 4:15 every morning. I worked 7 days a week. Sometimes my afternoon off would be driving 14 hours to Kentucky. So I didn't have any extra time, and no one would have asked me to do a little extra job. But I was the only one. I never complained. No one knew that I was really pretty unhappy with my situation. So this stranger showed me something, and I looked at it, and we looked at the ABC video, and I couldn't believe it was real, because I kind of pioneered PMF units and lasers into the horse business, ultrasounds into the horse business. And it's like, I knew what oxidative stress was, and I knew there's nothing you could do about it. And, why wouldn't I know about this if it's true? Well, I finally just had to come with grips. At some time, this is new, and I just didn't know about it yet. So I did cancel appointments that afternoon. I went and spent 12 hours trying to disprove this was not true. How could it be? And so the next day, I got involved right away, because I knew that horses, most of their cellular damage is coming from oxidative stress. Our professional athletes, whether they're humans or horses, just the things they do to perform, just like Deb talked about running, that's the great thing, run to stay in shape. But guess what? You create more oxidative stress when you do that. Our horses create a lot more oxidative stress when they're out in competitions versus putting their head down and eating grass 80% of the time. That's what they're supposed to be doing. So when we take horses and we put them in stalls and they're not in that herd environment, we're creating more mental stress as well as oxidative stress. And horses have more oxidative stress than we do just because their metabolism. So I was very excited that there was something that I was going to be able to put on the horses. I was always looking. People probably approach me once a week about some amazing product, and I'd look it up on PubMed, just like Deb says, go to a reliable source, a place that you can believe. This is where doctors do go. It's very difficult to get those studies put on PubMed because they have to go through a validation process. So, of course, what did I do? I went to PubMed.gov and I put in oxidative stress. And I pulled up some numbers because I haven't pulled the numbers up in a while just to see how much they've changed. When I got involved 8.5 years ago, there really wasn't there was a few. I mean, I now say it's a few. It's kind of funny. It's 44,000 oxidative stress studies. But I thought I was like, are you kidding me? How can you have that many studies on something most people have never heard of? So I went and looked at it 10 years later. Where's my numbers go? So it went from 45,000 to 248,000 studies. So those were the studies that were like sitting in the pike. They were waiting to come out for people to know about. And so like within a 10-year period, there's more than 235,000 studies on oxidative stress. Now, if you want to check out what it is for the horses, same site, PubMed.gov, and just put in equine oxidative stresses. And it will bring up a lot of studies. People want to have a lot of testimonies. I don't do testimonies. Thank goodness we have science. That's something that most products don't have. But you can look at oxidative stress and laminitis, oxidative stress and Cushing's disease, oxidative stress and soft tissue injuries, airway restriction. It's just amazing what is there for us in science. So it's much easier, or it was for me. I would not have believed any of this if the science hadn't been there. I don't care what stories I would have heard, unless it had been my personal horse, which I had a pretty amazing story with my personal horse too. But to see that there are that many thousands of studies out there, and all I wanted to do was have animals be healthier, live longer, not just live longer. We want to feel good while they're living longer. And that's what it did for my 26-year-old. I thought 8 years ago I was going to have to put him down just because he wasn't comfortable. And it was the very first horse that I put on it. And he's still with me. He was the one I was out giving a bath to this morning. So it's been, life-changing for people, for your horses. And most of you guys have horses. We have the dogs. We have to have probably 2 dogs for every horse, it seems like. So my dogs were grand. They lived to be 19 and 21. And they were on a hard circuit with me. We traveled all the time. About 9-10 months out of the year, I was in a motorhome traveling from site to site that they were at. So they didn't have some little cushy life, but they had some amazing products in them that were activated. And I know that's why I had them for so long and why they felt good until the very end. So I get very excited to be able to share this with people. We can change people's lives, horses' lives, our dogs' lives, all mammals. It's been tested. And I'm just passionate about it. I have something to do now that I truly love. I always worked on the horses and loved it. Decided I didn't like the industry anymore. Still love the horses, but I can still help the horses. At the same time, I was able to create a 6-figure income for myself. That was another part of this business that I didn't believe in the beginning. I thought, well, I've never heard of anybody making that kind of money working part-time. And I don't know how I could squash another thing in my 100-hour week. But if that's true, that's what I need to do, because I was tired of the not only 100 hours a week, but if you get hurt, guess what? You don't get paid too. And that was a real fear of mine, as many horses, big horses that were young horses that I was around. You were always getting injured somehow. I worked on a lot of jockeys. I saw how many people got injured. I think something like it's an average of 3 TBIs a year for a jockey. And just go take a look at what oxidative stress and TBIs are. That's amazing that we have something to offer people that are always getting injured. So I was excited, and I was able to retire. Actually, it was 20 months I retired my income. And, I was so used to working. I worked for another 1.5 years. with crazy hours, just because I was like, I can't believe I can just leave, but I could. And that's what's exciting, is what we have to offer is not just incredible products. Yes, we do have incredible products that are disrupting, you know, the supplement industry, and we can be the pioneers to bring this to people and have them feel better. And not everybody was like Stella, you know, she loves the horses, but you have to do a lot of things sometimes that you don't love in that business. And I was kind of thinking about that as I was thinking about this call, and I thought, gosh, I don't have to do those things I don't enjoy anymore, like unloading the hay truck, you know, unloading the feed truck. You know, I don't do those things anymore. I get to go do what I want to, which is be with the horses and be excited and help them feel better. So I hope this helps you guys have some belief. The belief is incredible. If you'll just do some science, if you'll just put your animals on it, like Deb said, that, you know, there's no placebo with them. I've seen way too many dogs that, you know, could barely creep around and who are counter surfing. You know, you're jumping on the sofas. I know one of my blacksmith up in Kentucky, I turned him onto this. He was a distributor. I went up there to do some meetings, and he had a real old Jack Russell, and she had all the cushions off of the sofa, and he had made like a little stair step so they could jump to the next pillow, you know, and he could barely get up there. And he goes, you know, I think we're just going to have to put him down. He can't even do this. I said, well, before you do that, you know, why don't you try pet tandem and see how it goes. Well, I came back up there the next month to do a meeting, and my bedroom when I stayed there was up on the second floor. Well, this dog was flying up wood floors up to the second floor. You know, that's what I love about our animals. They don't have to sit and wonder. So we've seen amazing things. I know it's hard. The hardest part is hearing people say no to something that they don't know anything about. But just know that every single one of us hears that, and we just have to keep talking and asking until we find the one who's ready right now. Doesn't mean that other person isn't going to say yes at another time, but it is something all of us deal with. No, and it's not, for me, it's not that it's rejection. It's that I wanted to help that person and I couldn't, but that's not what my job was for that moment. So just know you can always come back. And the way that we're going to get this out is just exactly what Stella's doing. And you guys are doing, you know, you've jumped on, you've created a launch call so you can reach out to people and have them understand what we do. And y'all are doing a beautiful job. I'm very, very excited for you guys and proud of you. And I thank you so much for asking me to be on your team. So thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. That was absolutely wonderful. There was so much in there that I was just like, wow, especially, you know, your dogs to 19 and 20. That's amazing. There's not many dogs live to that ripe old age. So Brett, I've invited to tell us a little bit more about the business. Before we do that though, is there anyone here that has a question for Debbie while she's here? If not, then we can let her continue with her day.
And Stella, as you know, when Zoom made the changes recently, when I muted everyone, I now can't unmute them. So if you've got any questions, they need to unmute themselves and come in with a question.
So if you have a question, feel free to unmute yourself.
I did want to ask one thing, add on something. It's about the dosage, because I know people always have dosage questions at some point. If a horse is getting to be a horse and he's, you know, trail riding and he's out in the field and he's having a good life, 1 a day is a maintenance dose. If a horse has a problem, or a horse is professional, he's having to be in stalls, and he's not out walking around where he's increasing blood flow and, you know, getting rid of some circulation problems, then it's suggested 2 pills a day. And the reason is it's not weight, it's the size of the cell of the horse is larger than a human. So if you have some issues, you go for 2, or if it's a serious issue, go for 3. And usually after 30, 45 days, you know, when you see an improvement in the animal, you can drop the dosage down a little bit. And that's because you've reduced the cell damage already.
Thank you. That's really helpful. So if there's no other questions, thank you very much again, Debbie, we'll move on to Brett, and Brett will just give us a little bit more information about why this has been a good fit for me.
And I will bring Deb. Thank you so much. We may come back with some more questions at the end. So if anybody's got a question or you were feeling like a wallflower, another opportunity coming round. So Stella, thank you for the invitation to come and talk about why we think this was a good fit for you. I guess this evening and this morning where you are, depending on where you've called in from, you've heard about how Stella discovered about oxidative stress, and you've heard from Deb Raroa first about what that means, that there's something you can do about it, and you've heard from Deb Kroll about how that can make positive and massive impacts, particularly in the horse environment. And that was Stella's journey. She started for herself and then realized from an experience with Figo, her horse, that there was an opportunity to give it to her horse based on the kind of information you've heard this evening. And in repositioning her business and rebranding it as Empowering Equestrians, she had the opportunity to say, this can be a significant part of the repositioning of my business in the way that you heard Stella talk about this evening. So why was it that this LifeVantage opportunity was such a good fit for Stella? You've heard about the product from Deb Kroll. You've heard about the impact that it has in that horse community. So let's peel back a little bit and talk about what the business is that's behind this, so that you've got some sense of it, and also some, I guess, to placate any concerns and issues and questions that might arise. I think the first thing to say is that this is a publicly traded company, which means it's listed on the stock exchange in New York, the NASDAQ stock exchange in New York. That's the stock ticker there, LFVN, those of you that do any dabbling in stocks. And the great thing about that is it's a company that's regulated by multiple regulators in the US. So the regulator that looks over companies that are listed, as well as the trade regulator, and indeed others. And of course, there's regulatory oversight in all of the countries in which the company operates. So that's good. Why is that good? Because it means people are poring over this company all the time, firstly, and secondly, the company has to be transparent. It's required to be transparent, and that's a good thing. So obviously, Stella found out about the product. She had a good experience and thought, well, if there's an application of this for her business in the way that we've heard Deb Kroll talk about, then I need to make sure that I'm not fighting against the company itself, for example, that you can't buy it directly from the company, and that you can't get it from saddleries or from other shops that might sell the product, particularly in the horse community, but even the health and wellness shops for us humans. And of course, that isn't the case. It's available through a network of people like Stella that have incorporated it into their lives or into their business. It's patented. There are 13 patents on the Protandim NRF2 that you've heard about from Deb Raroa earlier. And you've heard Deb Kroll say about the irrefutable science. When I last looked, there were about 6,500 studies alone into oxidative stress and the equine link. So this is a growing area of interest. It's affordable. You heard the dosage a minute ago. So it's £1.55 per day. So that is acceptable here in the UK currency. And of course, if you sign up for that, then you get subscription discounts. So there's ways of getting that in the most cost-effective way possible. So for Stella, in sharing this news with others, that was important. It is in multiple markets, so we try to represent that tonight. We've got people dialing in from all over, including, as you heard from Deb Raroa, it's now in New Zealand. We're in 22 countries worldwide and growing annually. And that's great, because what do we know about the horse community? They have tentacles in all sorts of countries in the world where there's a great horse community. So I'm thinking the US, I'm thinking it's down in Australia, New Zealand. It's even, I know it's extending into other countries where there's also other good, strong horse communities, lots in Europe as well. So that was of interest and growing annually. It opens about 2 to 3 markets on average every single year. So that's great for getting the word out to the community to say there's something out there that can do something that all horses are suffering from, and indeed all humans are suffering from. It's a very low risk business, low cost of startup, low risk. And the key thing for Stella, I know when she started, was people that she knew were already doing it. Myself and Patricia that she mentioned, who's on here tonight, were already in this space. So it was familiar with people that she was already familiar with. Back at the beginning of last year, the company was asked to ring the closing bell on the day's trading on the NASDAQ stock exchange. And that picture on the top right-hand corner was captured on the screen behind the closing bell ringing ceremony. And that's material because on the left, particularly in the last 18 months to 20 months, we've seen the power of Amazon when we've all been struggling through this current circumstance, and the power of having stuff delivered, and that whole disruption that Amazon caused. On the other side, you've seen Netflix. Again, in the current circumstances, we've seen how that's come to the fore. And you heard Deb Kroll say this is turning what was traditional supplementation on its head, and right at the center of all of that is the company behind Stella's company, and that's LifeVantage. So just a sign of the strength of this company. So that final graph down there on the bottom right-hand corner shows the 3-month period when COVID first broke out in February, March time last year. And you see how quickly the company recovered just in its share price alone in that 3-month period. This is a very, very strong company. I'm not going to spend too long time here. Deb's mentioned this, but I have highlighted one particular area here you see in the red box. This just gives an indication. Down the right-hand side is the average length of time it takes people like Stella to get to particular levels in months. And the one in red is 8 months. That's what's called the Pro 3 rank. That's where you're turning over $5,000 in your business every single month. And that's giving you, in the UK currency, £500 on average a month. Now, that's residual income that comes every single month. And you've heard some of where this can get to in the longer term through Deb, who's been doing it longer. But the key thing is, what could that £500 do for you right now? So when you're constrained from working, locked down, restricted, the weather's bad, as we've heard from Stella, what does that do? That gives you an ability to still pay towards food on the table, your car, money towards the house or rent or whatever. So that just gives you an indication. And it does that, and again, because it's so transparent, it does that at every single level in the business, at every single key turnover level in the business. And again, tracks that over time so you can see what that journey, what that path might look like. And just to wrap this all up, why is this the right opportunity at the right time for Stella? Well, you heard Deb say that somebody wandered over to her, and that was some time ago. That can happen with Stella now, and she can do all of her business on her phone. So it's ideal for the busy equestrian who's outside all the time. Really, the only device you have is your phone. You can run this business, and Stella is indeed running this business from an app on her phone. The culture is very much get in where you fit in. Align this with how you want to do things. Part-time, full-time, extra time, retired time, as Deb told us. Give up your job, as Deb Raroa has explained, and so on. This you put into your life where it fits. So Stella's putting this as a complementary service to her existing offering. And of course, it's paying dividends right now where we're in these constrained times. And it's, how does she get the word out? She talks to everyone she knows. She's invited 23 of you on here tonight to share the message. This is exactly how it's done. Sharing what the product is and what it does, and saying, who do you know, who's got a horse that would benefit, who's got a human that would benefit, let's get the word out. Stella doesn't have any inventory requirements, so she doesn't hold any stock. All she does is act as an introducer to say, I've got something that you should know about, and introduces that person to LifeVantage through a personal store, an example of which you see here on the right-hand side. And that's in every single open market country in the world. And the product is shipped from the local market. So unlike many other things that you might import from the US, from the horse trading community in the US here, and incurring excise or customs duties, this all comes in without any customs duty because it ships from within the country. So that's pretty material. And that's true for wherever it's done in the world. So Stella, I'm going to stop sharing and pass back to you, and you've got an opportunity for any final questions and chat to your guests.
Thank you very much, Brett. I'd just like to say on the back of that Brett's already mentioned that I wanted this to complement what I already do. So instead of it being a plan B, I wanted it to be part of my plan A. So as far as I'm concerned, this is my A+. So this gives me an extra service that I can provide to my clients and my customers and keep my horses healthy. Most equestrians spend more on their horses than they do on themselves. So it's quite a good thing to have an extra little side hustle or something. So I'd like to thank you all again for coming and for staying the course. I know we're a little bit longer time-wise than we had anticipated initially. Feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question for either of the two Debbies, myself, Brett, or Patricia. We're more than happy to answer any questions that you have.
I'll monitor the chat, Stella, because I think some people are putting stuff in there too.
Okay.
Stella,
Yes.
it's Julie.
Hi.
What's a TBI?
Oh, you'll need to ask Debbie that.
Debbie?
I didn't hear it.
Hi, Debbie. It's what's a TBI?
Traumatic brain injury.
Oh, okay. I was trying to work it out. Wow, that's amazing. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else with a question?
No, just a comment, Stella, in the chat saying really great content. Loved it being so specific to one topic. Really interesting. Thank you. So
That's good.
thank you.
Well, if there are no questions, feel free to either contact me or the person who invited you here this evening. Thank you, a big thank you again to Debbie Krull for your time and sharing your experiences with us. Also, thank you to Debbie from New Zealand. Thank you again for your time. And so I'd just like to say good evening or good morning, depending which part of the world you're in, and enjoy the rest of your day or enjoy the rest of your evening. So thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.